So my name is Mike Potter. I work for HMRC. You know that anyway because I'm the guy with the tie. So my role is Digital Transformation Director. It sounds very grand. What does that mean? You're probably aware that government would like, or GDS and Cabinet Office would like government to be digital by default. My role is to deliver that within HMRC, provide a fundamentally better experience for our customers in the tax system. It's digital because we're going to do that by default. It's transformation because you don't get there simply by taking everything you do today online. You get there by transforming your organization to support a digital by default model. So my role is to lead and catalyze that within HMRC. A little bit about us. We take about £500 million a year as an organization. You can also see here we have 40 million individual customers, around 5 million business customers. We've made significant reductions in our workforce over the last few years as we've become both more efficient and more digital. We still have many challenges ahead. We have a huge tax gap in this country that we still need to close. We've made massive inroads in that, but there's much more we can do. And my role will play a part in helping to close that. Something around the scale of the organization. We do 1 billion transactions a year. We're probably the biggest e-commerce organization in the UK, probably. I don't know for sure. If you look up here, 70 million letters. We spend a fortune on outbound print, so we're still, even though we're a highly digital organization, around 75% of our transactions are digital. We've still got a lot of analog stuff going on. Somebody put it into context for me the other day. In the UK, our post office, if they work 7 days a week, 1 day a week would be for HMRC. And you look at that and you think there's a massive opportunity there, both to cut costs for the taxpayer, but to deliver a better service through digital. So you can see here, we're a big part of what government does. We're a big part of digital in government, but there's so much more that we can still do. Our strategy, this is the bit that you always go, yeah, I hear this from everybody. Customer's the heart of everything we do. Everyone says that, everyone desires that. The difference now is we genuinely design services with customers in the room, helping us to make sure that they actually meet their needs. Data-driven organization, we have a vast amount of data as an organization, both what you as taxpayers provide, but also what we get from other organizations. We have to use that in much smarter ways in the future to provide a better service to you and to close that tax gap. And obviously digital is the norm. We want to make it so it's so easy for everybody that why would you do it any other way? Whilst at the same time recognizing there are people you can't always help, who can't always transact digitally. And therefore we need to offer assisted digital to support them in working with us in a different way. So what do we want to do? We want to provide you as individuals with tax accounts. If you operate as a business, we want to provide you with a single business tax account where all of your affairs with us are brought together in a single place in an easy way. We want to cover every transaction. This is not just about channel shifting people on high volumes. It's about supporting you to do everything that you do. Tailoring the experience to the way that you operate, the things that you actually need to engage with us upon. Not 60-page forms that cover every conceivable thing that you might currently do within the tax system. And here as well, publishing our APIs. There is a big ecosystem of people who use our APIs to provide financial services software. But it's become fairly moribund in recent years. There's so much more we can do with that. We're much more ambitious about that, and you'll be hearing more about that in the coming months. Services designed around customers. You can see some examples here, but we'll make it easy to have really smooth, simple end-to-end journeys through our services. Along the way, we'll help you to find the service, we'll help you to use it, we'll help you to stay compliant, and we'll help you to know when you've met your obligations and there's nothing more you need to do with us. We'll also prompt and nudge you to make sure you know when your future obligations are coming, so you can plan for that. And you can work with us to make sure that those are met with a minimum amount of fuss and effort. We design everything with our customers involved. We have 2 digital development centres, one here in London, South Bank, another one in Newcastle, and a third one opening in April. Customers are involved all the way through developing those services. We have laboratories to work with customers to help us to design them, where we can observe customers interacting with them, fine-tune and improve them. We do user research all the way along. That drives everything that we do. So how are we getting on? Last summer, tax credits, we got a call saying there's a tax credit peak coming up, 8, 9 weeks away. We would really like to get a really good digital service out there. Using agile development, we built a new service in 8 weeks. 400,000 people used it. The vast majority of them really liked it. This year, we're going to extend that service significantly to include the ability to change your circumstances with us. Most recently, this is a bit of the old and a bit of the new. For those of you who do your tax return each year, many more of you did it digitally than have done before. The self-assessment tax return here will have looked a lot like it did, but what you will have seen is a whole range of new services wrapped around that. A new payments service, a new business tax account, which is going to be the single one-stop place for businesses to run their affairs with us in future. 2 million customers signed up to use those tax accounts in the last peak. The vast majority of those people also signed up to suppress all that paper output. Don't want to deal with us in paper anymore, want to be fully digital with us. So people want to do this. We know that people want this. What we've got to do is take this and make it much, much better over the next year. How do we do that? We have a platform. One of our partners in crime here, Alun from Equal Experts, will tell you more about that platform. I think we have 2 fantastic assets in HMRC. One is our development centres, the people and the culture that we have in those, which wouldn't look too dissimilar to the kind of places you work in. When you go and see it, people tell us they can't believe that government can look and feel like this. It does in HMRC now. Not the whole organisation, but we're on our way. The other great asset that we have is our platform. And Alun will tell you more about that, but it is the fundamental underpinning to provide services for us and ultimately for others in time. Some of the other things we did, the tax account, digital self-assessment, which means no more paper, tax credits online, pay-as-you-earn, iCharities, a whole range of new services that we've built. We have over 40 additional digital projects in the pipeline to fundamentally to take everything that HMRC does with its customers into a digital environment. Some of it you kind of think, well, we used to have 1,500 forms, paper forms. You'd print, fill them in, or we'd send them to you, you'd fill them in, send them back. Now we've got it down to 377, still quite a few, but we do a lot of things. Currently you go, well, it's still a bit rubbish, Mike, because you print them off and we have to fill them in and send them to you. Haven't you just moved the cost and the effort to us? In part, but what we're really trying to do is make all of them submittable. And by the way, we'll notify you. By the way, we'll track and trace. You'll always know when your form is up to. If it's involving a repayment, you'll know when you're going to get repaid. We'll make them fully digital services this year. We scaled our telephony platform, brand new platform, designed in 9 weeks, implemented in 9 weeks through most of our organisation ahead of self-assessment. You know, we don't really want to have telephony contact, but when we do, we want you to get a better experience than you currently do. So that was what we did last year. That was really building block work for what we want to do in the future. We want to expand the tax accounts to cover every digital service, to every offering that we currently have in analogue to move into digital. We want to launch a personal equivalent to the business. And if you exist in both, and some of you will, we want to make it easy for you to operate in both. We've got new things we're doing, because governments will, as ever, generate new things they want us to do. Transferable allowance for married couples was announced very recently. You can now register for a whole new service and start with us to transfer your allowance around. We need to support the agent community. Agents have a fundamental role to play in what we do. They are the intermediary for many of our customers. We need to be able to offer them a service to easily act as agents and for customers to delegate to those agents the authorities they need and the permissions they need to operate with us on their behalf. Company accounts and tax online. This is where we start to join government up. You want to register a business, you only want to do it once. And that will register with us and with Companies House. Over the next 12 months, we're going to build a registration service. You can register with us in at least 8 different ways for different things that you need to do as your business grows and evolves. We're going to make it possible to register once, subscribe to many services. And of course, we're wrapping around that. We want to move away from telephony. We want to bring in a whole new range of, not particularly modern, because most people are doing this already, but new for us, services to interact with customers and provide support. One-to-many models, such as social media. Some of you in the UK last Christmas may have seen the conversation that was held about you can't do complex text in 140 characters. We service tens of thousands of people, either through subscribing and interacting with us in Twitter or through following and reading those messages. Many of those people would have come to us on telephony and wouldn't have got a great experience if they come at a peak time. But instead what they got was the ability to interact and engage with us in different ways. Much better for them, lower cost for us. So we need to extend a whole range of new support models to our customers, and that's going to happen this year. Okay, so that's me done. So I'm going to hand to Alun now. He's going to talk about one of our two assets, our shining gems that we have, which is the platform that underpins everything that we do.
Okay, I'll grab the microphone. Yep, you hear me? Okay, great. So yeah, I'm Alun Coppack. I'm a partner at Equal Experts, and as part of that, I'm working with HMRC at the moment as Digital Operations Manager. So Mike's told you quite a bit about how HMRC is changing and what all those changes are going to mean for customers. I'm going to talk a bit more about what we're doing behind the scenes to enable those changes to take place. So Mike mentioned briefly the platform, and this underpins what we're providing. But and Mike mentioned some of the services that we're able to provide as part of that. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those things in a bit more detail. Some of them you may even already be aware of. The self-assessment peak, I'm sure many of you had to file your self-assessment towards the end of January. For a lot of people, that's their one-time-a-year interaction with HMRC, maybe 5 minutes before midnight, according to some of the tweets we saw at the time. And often, it's the day before, people find what BuzzFeed's identified as an HMRC login code and password, if they're lucky. For a lot of people, they realise on the day before that they don't have their login details, they can't submit, and they're then looking at a £100 fine, potentially. So we've integrated this year with GovUK Verify, a new service from GDS, which allows people to register interactively without having to go through. If you've registered, a lot of you, I guess, have registered for Government Gateway. It's quite a long-winded process. If you've forgotten your password, it takes weeks to get a new piece of paper sent to your door before you can log in. Not really good at the day before your self-assessment's due. So in a very short period of time, teams at HMRC were able to leverage the platform that we've built and integrate with GovUK Verify. We had about 11,000 people doing that, saving themselves potentially over £1 million worth of fines. So that's one of the things we've been able to achieve. And as I said, we did that in quite a short period of time. For me, one of the things I've found most impressive is a service we launched recently, a payment service, allowing people to pay their tax online. I didn't even know actually that you can pay your tax bill by credit or debit card, but we have a number of people that do this every year. And the existing system run by a third party, we were a little worried about this end of January peak and the volume of transactions that would be going through. So we've re-engineered it and produced our own one as HMRC. And we took, over the course of 1 week in January, we had 500,000 users using that system. This is something which in November we hadn't written a line of code. We had our first beta users in December, and then during January we had half a million people using it, and over £1 billion worth of transactions coming through that. So really, really good to be able to do something like that in such a short period of time. My favourite story about this is the old service. This is what it looks like on an iPhone. And I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure we didn't have too many people who were paying their tax bill on that. The service that we launched looks like this. And actually, during that week, we had 50,000 people using their iPhone to pay their self-assessment tax bill via direct debit. And I think that's a really good demonstration of what HMRC's digital is able to do now, that it wasn't something that was possible just a short time ago. So I'll get now onto the platform itself. So we call it a platform. It is a platform as a service, and when I was thinking about what I could tell you, I was going to talk about why we decided to build a platform as a service, why we chose that as the model that we wanted in order to deliver services. But then I started thinking about it, and I realized that we didn't start up front just thinking we need to build a large platform to support a number of users. A number of development teams. We started with a small number of people building one service. We had DevOps engineers involved, and we built what we needed to get one service running. What we do have now is, by most people's definitions, a platform as a service, but we got there through an organic growth, and I think that's really important. A lot of it is stuff we've built together, we've built ourselves. It's pretty standard stuff as far as a platform go. It's Ubuntu servers, Docker containerization, Puppet for orchestration management. But we've built what we needed to get to support what we needed at each point in time. And we could perhaps replace it all with Cloud Foundry or OpenStack, Cloud Stack now, but what we have serves our purpose, and I think that's actually given us a much clearer idea of why we're doing things and avoided a lot of unnecessary upfront work. So I think that's quite an important aspect of the platform. And also, this has only been around for about a year and a half, 2 years, almost 2 years, and we're now at the point where we are delivering. As I said, I've mentioned a couple of projects that are running. We've got 30 teams now, all running off this platform. This is 30 teams. We have a microservices architecture. They're building Play Scala applications, and they're doing this at HMRC. I know Mike said before, for a lot of people, this kind of technology, the stuff we're doing, it's what we expect to be doing, a lot of us, but this is actually happening at HMRC and inside government, HMRC Digital. And I think that's a really important message, that this can be done inside government, and actually it works really well. So, onto the topic of this talk, the platform as a club, and the reason we're talking about this as a club rather than a service. Well, there's a number of reasons, but the biggest one is the platform as a service. I think is a really good concept for an organization with a single purpose, or a startup organization using a public platform as a service provider. You get access to a lot of stuff really easily. It means you don't have to do your own. You don't have to manage a lot of your own infrastructure or a lot of your own services. It's a really good, quick way to get started. You buy that service and it's available for you. But it's that last part which has been frustrating me, the idea that you buy this service and you use it to do what you want. And I think by changing it from a service mentality to a club, we can achieve something a bit different. And by turning it around and saying you become a member of the club, and you have some ownership of the club, of what happens in there, I think it makes for an organisation, it gives much better value. I'll talk about that a little bit more. So, and the other side of the club stuff is that by joining a club, you get access to benefits which you wouldn't get otherwise, as long as you respect some of the rules of the club. So the rules aren't very onerous by joining this club. One of them is that at the moment, you have to be building a Play Scala microservice. You have to be using MongoDB for persistence. Most of the people aren't that. That's not a terrible sacrifice to have to make. Over time, the platform will support more languages, but at the moment, it's quite important that we grow at a sustainable pace and only support a small subset at the moment. The benefits you get. And the other main constraint is that you are building a service that you're going to own, that you're going to run on the platform. Similar in many respects to the Amazon, you build it, you run it mentality. We expect teams that are building products for the platform to be looking after them, to maintain them, to provide a certain level of support for them. By being a member of the club, you have access to some underlying infrastructure and with a 24/7 support capability, but that's really about providing you with just the infrastructure underneath. The actual application itself, the teams need to own that. But we do provide the platform provides a lot of mechanisms for teams to do that by providing a lot of analytics and monitoring and support tools that teams can leverage themselves. Again, so it means that teams don't have to go and reinvent all this stuff for themselves. Access to Kibana, Grafana, PagerDuty, all that sort of thing. There are frameworks established that they can reuse, a reusable pattern, but which means it's quicker and easier for teams to get up and running. But I think the reuse is something a lot of people talk about, but the club mentality makes this a reality. One of the things that teams get access to is the shared microservices. As I said, we have a microservice architecture. There's over 100 microservices on the platform at the moment. But because they're all built in a similar way, it's much easier for teams to share them. And I'll get on to what I mean by that in a moment. But an example, one of our teams was, Mike touched on it before, is replacing the paper forms you receive each year from HMRC with digital versions. Obviously, they needed to send emails to do that. So that team built an email microservice to do what they needed to do at the time. When a second team came along and needed to send emails, rather than building their own microservice to do that, re-engineering it, they were able to talk to the team that had built the initial microservice, understand what was there, and figure out what the gap was. Because we're using GitHub and the fork and pull model, that second team was able to raise a pull request against the team that owned the email service to have their changes accepted into the service. And this is one of the other rules that comes with being a club member. You need to be reviewing, and there's an onus on you to accept pull requests from other teams where it's not destabilizing the product that you own. And by accepting that pull request, you're saying it's part of your code base, it's part of your service. You have a responsibility to test that the service is still working and to push that service into live and support it in live. But that means that all these new teams coming onto the platform don't need to rebuild everything. And email service is one example. We are HMRC, we're the government, so we have quite strict audit and security guidelines. We've built a common audit microservice which can be reused by other teams, and similarly we built a generic service for form persistence. So sadly, a lot of the forms you need to fill in are still quite long, even though they're online now and not on paper. But one of our teams built a service to allow you to get part of the way through that process, persist that information. Another team comes along, they can very quickly integrate that into their service. So we really are achieving reuse in that manner, and the teams are benefiting by having other people there, having other teams that have come before them, and hopefully leaving stuff behind for the next people that come along. Actually, I think I just talked about that. So, the other thing I wanted to mention is we're very close to continuous delivery in what we're doing. A lot of our teams are deploying 2 or 3 times a week into the live environment. One reason they're able to do this is because a lot of the security concerns and audit in terms of the code promotion requirements that normally come with working in a regulated government environment are taken care of by having this platform where a lot of that stuff has already been pre-accredited, been provided for the teams. And we are very close to having that as a full continuous delivery capability where teams are able to, because teams are taking this ownership of their products themselves, they will be able to push these releases directly to the live environment. And that, again, I know that sounds like a lot of you, I guess, were here yesterday. The whole DevOps stream is what everybody's talking about, but this is at HMRC and it's actually happening at the moment. And again, I think that's really important to remember. I don't know what the squirrel's for, but it's quite a cool photo, so I kept it in. I think, well, it's talking about challenges we have, and I'm not sure what the challenges the squirrel has, but it looks challenging, whatever it is. So we are now building, I didn't mention before, but this is the infrastructure we're building on top of is cloud-based infrastructure. And not everybody, but we have, Mike mentioned, we've got a delivery center in London, another one in Newcastle, many, many more teams are going to be using this platform. Not everybody is a cloud developer. Not everybody is used to building applications in a manner where the underlying medium is brittle and can't be relied upon. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen to help people take the ownership of their product, but also understand what the environment is that they're deploying into. And that's actually been a bigger challenge. I think we underestimated that when we started. So some of that we can solve by building some common functionality, which teams can leverage common libraries that abstract some of that away. But there is a bit of a mindset change for people to think that they have to expect their application to fail, especially in a microservices environment. The touch points have become much greater between services. You have to expect that every once in a while you're not going to get the response back that you're expecting. And scaling, yeah. It is hard to grow this, and trying to have a trade-off between organic, sustained growth and a desire. But as Mike was saying before, we've been extremely successful, and people are looking to capitalize on that success. So there's huge demand to grow these teams very, very quickly, and especially not being co-located. We need to change the way we think about things. When we had a small team with a shared mindset, a lot of the communication was non-verbal. People were seeing what other people were doing and had that shared understanding. When we're moving to a model where we have lots of remote teams, we need to codify some of that thinking a bit more and make sure that we have a good onboarding process. But I do think that the benefits in that the benefits you can get from that are worth pursuing that. And where are we going? So we have this platform. We've got a lot of services that exist on it, but they are generally GovUK style web applications. Because it's a microservices architecture, of course, we do have an API layer that's already been built. We have a lot of work to do now to figure out how we manage those APIs and make them available to users so that other government departments and the public can make use of them in ways that we don't even know yet. But certainly, we've already built all these services. We should be making them public and getting more people to use them, or giving them the opportunity to do so. And I mentioned before, supporting more digital delivery centres. That is a big challenge for us going forward. And maybe other government departments. While there are some constraints, some rules around the use of the platform, I think it's still generic enough that there's no reason why departments other than HMRC could make use of this. And certainly that would put us in a very, very interesting position, give us a lot more understanding of what a customer of the platform is, and quite a challenge. So this idea of building this platform and treating it as a club, I really think in a large organization, enterprise environment where you've got lots of teams that are delivering with there's a shared set of constraints around audit, security. Perhaps you want to encourage that common code reuse. I think building something which is a bit more than just an internal platform as a service has a lot of benefit, and that's really the big thing we've learned in doing this over the last couple of years at HMRC.